Hello there, DynamicsCon attendees. Thank you so much for taking time today to think about EDI. What we have found is that EDI has really been stunting businesses' ability to grow. Today, we'll give you just a quick tour of the SPS solution and give you some things to think about as you're in your EDI selection process. I'm Chrissy Matheson, sales leader at SPS. I've been here 15 years, so I have seen it all in terms of EDI. I'm joined today with a Business Central expert, Sean Martin.
Good morning, everyone. Sean Martin. I'm a product specialist with SPS Commerce. I was with DataMasons for the last 3 years. Before that, I was actually with SAP, where I worked with companies for AP automation. And then I also have 18 years of experience in the ERP world as well. So nice to meet everybody.
So between the two of us, it's fair to say that we'll give you some really good things to think about, especially as you're in an ERP deployment, including EDI. So you may see the logo here in the center of this slide. DataMasons is now SPS Commerce. As Sean mentioned, he came to us from DataMasons, and how you all can think about DataMasons is SPS made a significant financial and strategic investment in the Microsoft space to offer companies like you world-class automation with your ERP, Business Central, and then also backed by the world's largest network in terms of full service and connectivity to your trading partners. A little bit about that expertise combined for SPS and DataMasons. We've got a team of 180 people specifically dedicated to Microsoft deployments. This solution spans 350 plus customers, 22,000 production documents, and in totality, 25 years of Microsoft expertise. What that means to you is not only a world-class full-service EDI solution, but the expertise and people behind that solution to help design the automation that works for your business. Today, we're going to give you an overview on the challenges in terms of EDI, how SPS does it, and why we're different than everybody else, even though they claim to be the same. Sean's going to give you a tour of the SPS automation for Business Central. We'll talk a little bit about support and then touch on any questions that you all may have. So as SPS thinks about EDI, we've been doing this 20 plus years, and our customers typically fall into one of these 4 buckets. Either being new to EDI, small, medium-sized growing business new to EDI, or very large functional companies that have changed their business model and now have an EDI requirement. Some of them have multiple channels and multiple trading partner requirements. So what happens is the larger your EDI footprint gets, the more complex it is internally to optimize those systems. When we think about supply chain complexities, think about new trading partner requirements or changing trading partner requirements that land in chargebacks for the business or dissatisfied customers. And then probably most importantly, we have dealt with many, and I mean thousands of implementations for customers who are replacing an ERP or a warehouse management system. Either they're being acquired or are doing the acquiring and need a really strategic partner to help them figure out how to get through those issues. When you think about EDI, there's 7 core components to successfully do EDI. And whether you do that in-house or you work with SPS or any other provider, these 7 things are required in order for you to have a functional EDI solution. At the top there is technology. So literally the technology to translate EDI specifications into something that your system can read for you to operate on. Trading partner expertise. So Costco and Target have very different trading partner requirements, and they expect you to be an expert in how to do business with them in terms of EDI. You have to design and configure that solution. So that's the ability for Costco to order from you in terms that you know how to actually fulfill the order. Trading partner communication. Once you design and configure the solution, each trading partner has a different way that they want to send and receive data. Some familiar communication methods here would be FTP, AS2, VAN, and most recently APIs. Then you have to figure out how to test and launch the solution. And then in order to have an effective EDI solution, you need to be able to proactively monitor and analyze the data that's coming through to ensure that you're meeting the trading partner requirements and you can get your goods on the shelves or at the front door of your customers. And then that ongoing resource access. So someone needs to be an expert in managing the changing requirements and the ability to connect to those trading partners and sustain it long-term. What we find in the industry is that all other EDI providers give you about 50% of what you need for a successful EDI solution. So they may give you some technology, they may give you some pre-built maps, they may give you some help in terms of reactive support, but not all 7 components. And so what that means is somebody internally in your company, sometimes multiple people will need to be experts to complete this successful process. What that leads to is those solutions only solve part of that problem. So all of that complexity between Costco and Target and Procter and Gamble and all of these companies that you need to do electronic purchasing with, it slows the onboarding process. You're not able to scale your business. And essentially your IT departments are taxed with significant costs that you didn't budget for. And it's not like that cost is annually one time. As you add trading partners and the larger the solution gets, the more complex it gets, which means those IT costs continue to grow over time. Now let's talk about how you can simplify that process. So as I mentioned, SPS has been doing this for 20 years, and we've helped companies optimize that EDI process and turn EDI into an asset versus a tax. When you look at our network, we've got 80,000 pre-mapped connections in our network, which means we know how to work with all of your customers. Very rarely these days do we find somebody who's new, and if we do, we build it as part of our network and the R&D cost is on us. On the bottom left there, we've got 3,000 retailer, distribution, grocery, and manufacturing connections. In the center, we've got 1,000 3PLs. What that means to you is there are 1,000 3PLs that are pre-wired into the SPS Commerce network. And particularly in COVID, what we saw was companies needing to quickly pivot to expand their 3PL footprint. And SPS was in the unique position to recommend pre-wired 3PLs to our suppliers. We have all the certifications that you would think for a company who is processing millions and millions and millions of transactions. When we think about the products and services that SPS provides, in the center there is order data. You can think about that as electronic purchasing or EDI. Complementary to that, if you're getting your goods on the shelves of the retailer or to my front door, on the left-hand side, it means you have to be able to give item information to your customers. SPS has an easy ability to help you automate that item information and get it out to the trading partner the same way that we do EDI. On the right-hand side there, once you get your goods to the shelves of Target, you're going to want to know, are your boots selling better in Minnesota or California? It helps you to analyze store level, item level data to help you forecast. Now, don't get it confused with typical ERP forecasting. It's an additive to that, a new level of data or new information that you can use to round out your forecasting abilities. On the bottom there for supplier onboarding, the same way your customers ask you for electronic purchasing, you may elect to ask for EDI or electronic purchasing of your suppliers or manufacturers of goods. SPS helps many companies with that onboarding process to help complete the automation of those connections. Now, this may look familiar to those of you who have either done EDI in a past life or you are currently in an EDI environment. It looks pretty messy, and the reality is that's because it is. On the left-hand side there, you've got all of the trading partner requirements that we talked about, which are all different. Costco and Target and Procter & Gamble. They each have a different set of trading partner requirements in terms of the documents that they require, communication method. And then when it gets really hard is when you have to figure out how to tie all of that data to your ERP. In this instance, it's D365. And you may have already deployed D365 or are in the process of doing that. that becomes very complex as you're thinking about rolling out business process changes inside of your company. And most of the time, EDI is a core component. All of the orders, or the majority of the orders that our customers receive, are through EDI. So thinking about making a change there or taking a risk feels really difficult. In our world, what we do is insulate you from all of that complexity. Remember that I mentioned we've got 3,000 of those customers already built. So you're plugging into the same network that 35,000 other companies are already plugged into. We normalize all of that data before it hits D365. Think about a purchase order. There's one purchase order across all of your customers that is wired specifically for automation with D365. In the center there is all of the proactive monitoring, the business rules, and the ability for SPS to help you decide what data you want to live in the ERP and what data can live in the network. Without further ado, Sean Martin's going to give you a tour of the automation.
Well, excellent. Well, from the standpoint of the product demonstration or the overview, the way we're going to cover it this morning is going to be starting within ERP, within Business Central, and then going over to the EDI platform from the standpoint of the automation and integration layer, cover our dashboards, our landing page, and so forth. So we'll start from Business Central, and I'm just going to go down to my sales orders. So right before the meeting, I went in and integrated a new inbound 850. The inbound 850 goes through the retail network, SPS's network, goes through the translation, and then we're picking up that document and we're validating it, and then we're integrating the document into Business Central. Now, with the SPS automation integration layer, we do take an external approach to EDI. So what that really means is we actually have our own data store that sits outside of ERP to capture and store additional data that comes in from a lot of the documents that you would receive from your trading partners. Typically, there's really no relevant place within ERP to store this data, and that's why we take the approach of the external data store, because our main goal is not to modify or change the core code of ERP. This becomes extremely important for many of our customers as they take those releases of Business Central to stay current. We're not going to interfere with their ability to stay current. You're also going to hear me talk about the concept of being tightly integrated, but loosely coupled. So one of the approaches that we take following Microsoft's best practices is we're going to introduce contextual hyperlinks in ERP through the extension layer following Microsoft's best practice to give you complete visibility from the standpoint of your EDI transactions. So to start, we're going to go into this order that just recently came in. You can see the PO. I called it DynamicsCon 001. So we're going to start there, and I'm going to open up the order. Now, without doing anything, I didn't have to import. I didn't have to export. Everything automatically carried into Business Central without any, manual processes on my part. Everything is fully automated. So when we bring in the purchase order, it gets transformed, we validate, and then we integrate the PO data to create the sales order within Business Central. Now that I'm in Business Central, what you're going to see here is everything is already carried over. So me as a customer service rep, I'm able to come in and review this. Now up on the top, you're going to notice that we offer this EDI tile. This is that concept of being tightly integrated but loosely coupled. So again, we're going to give you visibility from an EDI standpoint with these contextual hyperlinks. So we're going to talk first about the Transaction Lifecycle Explorer. So when we go in, one click, we're going to take you into the TLE, and the Transaction Lifecycle Explorer is going to show me exactly what has taken place from an EDI transaction standpoint with a click of a button. So here you're going to notice that I received an inbound PO from Target. You can see the exact date and time that it was received. You can also see the date and time that it was integrated to ERP. We're going to reference back to the originating purchase order number, and here you can see the status is complete. Now, I went in to that sales order and I released it. Now, everybody's business process could be a little bit different. In this demo environment, when I release the sales order, that's the automation trigger to then send the corresponding purchase order acknowledgement. And again, we're going to reflect that exact same data. Now, over to the right, you're always going to notice that we do put in the functional acknowledgement status, the 997. So when you did receive this inbound purchase order, we're automatically sending back that 997, the functional acknowledgement, to your trading partner. It's your read receipt, letting them know that yes, it was received. Now, of course, when you send your purchase order acknowledgement back, again, we're waiting for that functional acknowledgement to come back in to give you that visibility. This becomes extremely important, especially when you're sending ASNs and you want to make darn sure that your trading partner has received those, and then you have evidence to back it up if, for example, you do get a fine or a chargeback. You have the data right here, click away to be able to view it. Now, right from here as well, I'm one click away. So if you do want to go in and actually review the raw inbound 850 data, it's right there. We can also go in and we can look at a human readable version of this inbound 850. So now I'm actually reviewing the inbound 850, but it's anybody can read it. You do not need to be an EDI expert to be able to see this data. So it's right there. Now, from here, I'm going to get out of the EDI portion. We're going to go back into ERP. And for the sake of the demonstration, we're going to go ahead and post, and we're going to ship an invoice and get that out the door. Now, behind the scenes with the automation layer, again, fully automating all these transactions on your behalf, we're automating now the sending of the ASN, as well as we're automating the sending of the invoice once it posts. So as soon as this is complete, we'll go in and review this posted invoice. But before that, I just want to take you back into the customer account card from the standpoint of, again, that concept of tightly integrated, loosely coupled. So we're just going to pull up target. We're going to go in. And again, we're going to introduce this EDI tile to give you more visibility, such as the trading partner set up within EDI, or your item cross-reference, shift to cross-references. The one key component that I want to make note of is ERP is the system of truth. We sync to the data within ERP, and then we give you visibility to those item cross-references with a click of a button right from ERP. The last part of what I'm going to cover here is we're going to go back into that posted sales invoice and give you visibility to the posted invoice from the standpoint of the TLE again. So with a click of a button, we're going to go into the transaction lifecycle explorer. And then again, we're going to give you that complete visibility to what has taken place from an EDI standpoint. So now you can see, without actually doing any imports, any exports, no pushing the buttons, everything is fully automated, because our goal is we want you in ERP, not EDI. And then lastly, from the standpoint of management by exception, if you ever do receive any transactions that didn't complete successfully, we're going to notify you. We're going to send out emails to your team. We'll trigger text messages to your team. We're also going to give them complete visibility in terms of what the actual problem with this document was. So now we can actually build out a procedure, tells them exactly what they need to do. This takes some of the heavy lifting off of IT, puts it back into your team's hands so they can actually correct these documents on their own. And it's relatively simple. They can go in, edit the document, and then simply reprocess. The last part of what I want to cover from an EDI standpoint is the main automation integration dashboard. This really is meant to be a landing page. It's going to come in, and anybody overseeing EDI is going to want to keep a sharp focus on this. And the great thing is this is, you can move it around. You can kind of make this your own environment. It's contextual. So even though I'm looking at these bar charts, tells me I have 8 documents that are currently in a hold status. With a click of a button, we're going to now go in and we'll actually be able to see all of those invoices that are currently in a hold status. And in a second here, it'll refresh and I'll have that complete visibility. And the last part that I wanted to review from here is the DataMason scheduler. This really is where all of the automation comes from. Your workflows, your tasks. This is really where we're configuring this specific to your business environment to automate when we send documents, what triggers the sending of a document, and so forth. And really, this is the heart and the engine of what drives all of that automation. But with that, that is the overview that I wanted to provide. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing.
A couple of things that are important to note from that demo, as Sean mentioned, the ERP is the source of truth. In conjunction with that, it's also important to know that SPS has been doing this for 20 years. We have a fulfillment solution that does not automate with the ERP that can really complement what you're doing from an EDI perspective. So a lot of our customers use this for new trading partners. Maybe you don't know the order volume, or maybe Costco's ordering from you for a holiday season and you don't want to invest in the automation. The other thing that fulfillment is used for is documents which have no business value in the ERP. So instead of extending ERP functionality to jam an EDI document in there that actually provides your business no value, we can give you read or action ability out of the fulfillment solution. Now let's just talk for a couple of minutes about your ERP go live. As I mentioned, SPS has done this thousands and thousands of times, and here are just some things that we've learned. So from a D365 perspective, as you're out there evaluating EDI solutions, the ones that are unproven, that don't have certified world-class integration to D365 are high risk. They put your ERP go live at risk. ERP projects, as I mentioned earlier, as you're thinking about disrupting the connections to your trading partners, puts your customer relationships at risk. When you think about resources that are potentially dedicated to an EDI project, especially during an ERP go live, the dependency on one or two people inside of your organization to be the expert really puts your long-term viability at risk. What we found is that the EDI solution you choose should have world-class automation with the ERP, as Sean just mentioned, have the people, process, and technology, as SPS Commerce does, to put you in a position for a successful ERP go live, no disruption to your retail trading partners. And frankly, what we've seen is when companies go live on an ERP, everybody's focused on that. And there is no time or extra money or extra resources to be focusing on an EDI project. So why not leave that in the hands of experts like us? You may be asking yourself, what does a typical project feel like? Okay, I choose SPS as my partner. What does that feel like? Well, it'll feel like no other EDI provider out there in the market, because we take the lead with your customers. That means we call them, we coordinate the transition, we lead all of the testing with them. So nobody at your facility needs to do that. When we go live, we make sure that we're closely monitoring those transactions to ensure that they have success. And probably most importantly, even though the ERP/EDI project feels really hard as you're going live, 6 months from now or 12 months from now, you're still getting that same proactive ongoing monitoring. So you've got 1,600 employees at SPS making sure that your EDI department is functional. Essentially, SPS becomes your EDI department. When we think about support, as I mentioned, customer facing to you, we handle all of the coordination with your retailer. We're the only provider in the industry that takes that approach, because we understand that EDI is more than a technical solution. It requires people, process, and technology. We're going to proactively monitor that solution. And if something goes wrong in the EDI layer, we work with your retailer. If something goes wrong, as Sean mentioned in that demo, where maybe you're missing data that isn't meeting the compliance of the trading partner, we're going to call you and help you work through that. And then always, as we see customers grow, there are new employees. So you have all of the training and education available to help new employees become experts as well. We do have a full service promise. As I mentioned, 1,600 employees and 35,000 subscribing customers. We've done this a lot. Our customers want the solution to be easy to use. They want a personalized experience, and they want us to continue to provide them ongoing value. This isn't a technology solution that you set up and we walk away. We're walking side by side with you as long as you're an SPS Commerce customer. As the market changes and the market grows, APIs are a really good example. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, APIs weren't out there. They're there now. SPS has stepped into that to become expert in that area to ensure that we can not only continue to service the customers we have, but also handle the new customers that come along as well. A lot of people ask us in terms of customer attrition or how long customers stay with SPS Commerce. It's important to note that we are the retention leader. So 86% of our customers stay with us. On the right-hand side, there's 780 competitive wins. That literally means that last year, 780 companies just like you, either were doing EDI in-house with a software solution or working with another EDI provider. They made the decision that SPS Commerce was the right fit for them. I'd like to thank you for your time this morning. As I mentioned at the beginning, I'm Chrissy. Here you see Judy Weston. She's our channel sales manager for the Microsoft space, maybe a familiar face to some of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Judy. Her contact information is there. You can find myself and Sean on LinkedIn as well. And I'm really looking forward to an event where I can meet you all face to face. I wish you luck on your journey with your ERP and your EDI project, and I hope that we're able to help you in that journey. Have a great rest of the day.